and saying, hey, welcome back to my blog. I got a special person I want to introduce you to. This has been a lifelong friend for many, many, many years. And this being the Christmas holiday season, we want to make sure we wish you guys all a Merry Christmas and make sure you have a happy and safe New Year. Who I have with me today is somewhat of a celebrity, being Christmas time. This is the mayor of the North Pole. That's right, North Pole, Alaska is where Doug's from. Doug has been elected to a second term as mayor, and he came down here to not only see Omaha and see some of his kids that are in the Nebraska area, but I introduced him to David Black, who is the mayor of Papillion, who happens to be my brother as well. So they've had a good conversation. He's seen what's great about Papillion and renewing old acquaintances here in Omaha, and we've just been having a great time. So I want to return the favor to Doug and have Doug tell you what is great about North Pole, Alaska, so that if you desire sometime, like it's going to be my 30th wedding anniversary coming up, come up to see Doug and see the great state of Alaska and what makes that part of the country wonderful. Right now, I probably don't want to be there. It's probably pretty cold.
Oh, no, Bill, this is a great time to be in North Pole, Alaska. If you're looking for winter paradise, other than skiing,
Yep.
we've got snow machines, four-wheelers and such, but we also are known as one of the top 10 Christmas towns because we have Christmas in ice going on all year round. You can find it at www.christmasinice.org, and beautiful sculptures, ice sculptures, artists from China, from Russia, from Alaska, elsewhere, who are just creating sculptures that depict Christmas themes. And to me, it's nativity, it's the birth of Jesus. But to others, it may mean reindeer, Christmas trees, Santa Claus, of course. One year it was a moose that was in front of a stamp. Well, it was a stamp with a moose on it and other Alaska type things, but it was a Christmas stamp. In fact, this year we have Christmas seals, kind of a play on by some of the Chinese artists.
Now, somebody here in Omaha also told me that there is a ice bar there. There is.
Chena Hot Springs is not very far away from North Pole, Alaska. And in it, the entrepreneur, Bernie Carl, is using geothermal heat to create refrigeration. And so all year round, there's this fantastic ice hotel. Funny story about that, I'll come back to in a second. But in it, he has an appletini bar. And so he serves up world famous appletinis. But you're surrounded by all sorts of ice sculptures as well.
Yeah, and you're in an igloo.
You're in a huge, like a cathedral made out of ice. Now, he wanted to do it as an ice hotel, but the fire marshal didn't allow him to get a permit because he didn't have a sprinkler system
in an ice house.
In an ice house.
What a play on one. Yeah. That's an oxymoron.
Who's going to have a fire in
an ice house?
So it was kind of one of those things where government can be too heavy of a hand and have ridiculous permitting processes.
You really think so?
Being a part of the process, I try to get rid of that. Much as I hear David, your brother, does. And I am impressed by what he's got going on here in Papillion.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that another time.
But when you come to North Pole, North Pole, Alaska is right in between two military bases. So it's how I got to North Pole, actually, was the transit between Offutt and Eielson.
You were stationed here in Offutt.
I was.
And Doug lived here in Omaha. That's how I got to know him some 30 years ago.
That's right.
And we've been
more
fast
than
friends.
30 years.
Yeah, we've been fast friends ever since.
So it's a great place to come and visit and to live. So if you're in Army or Air Force and such, we're right 10 miles from Eielson and 10 miles from Fort Wainwright. We actually go east and west, so we're southeast of the city of Fairbanks by about 10, 11, 12 miles. And we've got a hotel now. I mean, we're a happening place. We've got roundabouts that are all decorated with candy cane light posts and ice sculptures, of course, and now thousands of lights. I see a lot of lights down here, and percentage-wise, it's about the same. Our cost of electricity is so much more, and so it's really expensive to light up, and yet people are braving that bill. And our heating bill, I mean, I paid $600 just for my heating oil that will last me 30 days.
In your
On
home.
top of $100, and a standard family is about $200 to $400 because you plug in your vehicles and everything
Sure,
in the wintertime.
sure.
So you're paying another $1,000 just to heat and electrify a
So-
2,500 square
So
foot
you're
home.
saying if you're going to move to Alaska, number one, you got to call me because I'll help you put up your house for sale, and then I'll hook you up with a good realtor up there.
There you go.
But then, second
Standard
of all,
price is about $225 in our area.
Okay.
For about a 2,500 square foot home.
Yep. Now, if people are thinking about coming up there and doing vacation time, I've already talked to you about my potential plans of a 30th anniversary present.
There you go.
If somebody wanted to go salmon fishing, best time of year to come salmon fishing.
Well, I would say combine it with a trip to North Pole around July 4th because July 4th is our summer festival. And so we drew up a big deal, and we have kind of like a fair atmosphere. We have a parade, we have all these vendors, a lot of fun, and there's just a lot of folks in North Pole to celebrate Independence Day. But then we're not too far away from the Copper River. We're about 5 hours away, and that is just spectacular fishing. We can go dip net fishing and such. Well, if you're a resident, I have to get up with the rules for non-resident, but we can help you with that. Or you go to the state of Alaska, go to alaska.gov, and they've got all the fishing license requirements. But that's a good time for red salmon. And it's the red salmon that's the highly prized salmon to me.
Okay.
Now, some people like pink. I feed that to the dogs. But, and then, of course, the king salmon.
Sure.
And king salmon's excellent, but red salmon is better.
Okay.
It's the best.
All right.
But the king salmon is where you hear the stories about these 50, 75, 100-pound fish,
Right.
and you're reeling it in, and they're awesome to play. So, but salmon, of course, are spawning. And so they're not necessarily fighting with bait. And some people like that because you don't have to, they still are heavy to bring in if you're using a rod and reel, but you don't have to have bait, so you don't care about that kind of thing. So
Good.
you do have other fish. The Kenai is loaded. Kenai is 8 to 10 hour drive away from the interior of Alaska. Alaska is huge, folks. It's some of it is connected by road, and a lot of it is connected by air and by water.
Give an idea of how big Alaska is.
Well, if you superimpose the
Excuse me
state of
one
Alaska,
You'll have to edit that part out.
if you superimpose the state of Alaska over the lower 48, you'd put the Aleutian Islands out in California. You'd put the Panhandle, where Juneau, our state capital, and Ketchikan, the entryway, Sitka, Ketchikan, one of those down there, would be in Florida.
Okay.
So 3,000 miles across from Aleutian to Panhandle. Now, the Aleutian Islands are not the closest part to Russia. That actually is up in the Bering Sea, and we got a couple islands that are the Diomedes are within 40 miles of Russia. So a famous governor of ours once said, "I could see Russia from here."
Yeah.
Well, if you go up even further north, Barrow, the furthest north community in Alaska, in the lower 48, that would be superimposed on our map, and it'd be in Minnesota. So we're 1/5 the size of the lower 48. We have 2.5 times the coastline of the continental United States. We are a state. A lot of people think we need protection. We're a little dinky colony someplace south of Southern California, about the size of Hawaii. Folks, we're vast, we're large. You could not see it in one trip. In fact, I have not seen all of Alaska in 30 years of living there.
Yeah.
I've been all over it, but I've not been on the ground everywhere. We've got 250 communities that are, some of them are real small, and we call them villages, and some of them are larger, but in lower 48 terms, just a pebble and a big pond.
Right.
We have state land, we have federal land. State land is about the size of the state of California, about 103, 110 million acres. The native allotment is about 45 million acres. And then the rest is federal. And we've got a lot of folks who are saying, well, we need a buffer zone between the federal land, which we should create as wilderness, and the state land or private land, which is as silly as saying, I don't want you to build a patio in your yard because it interferes with my pleasure of using your property as my recreational spot, or just the thought of keeping development down. You cannot build well, hello, it's your property. You want to enjoy your property as much. So we have a lot of the resources. The wealth of America is in Alaska. And if we develop it, we can get energy independence. We don't have to be paying all these terrorist organizations and countries that don't have our best interest in mind. And the only country that should have our best interest in mind is us. So let's use our wealth.
Sure.
We've got plenty of minerals, whether it's copper, whether it's gold, whether it's silver, platinum,
Mother Earth.
The rare earth minerals. Which there's not a lot of throughout the lower 48 in the large enough accumulations. We have them in Alaska. This could be Alaska's century. But what will happen is if we're not thinking properly, and if we're allowing stinking thinking to get into our mindset, just because we get the glossy brochure in the mail and the environmentalists say, we got to keep the last frontier as a wilderness, we're going to go bankrupt as Americans, because we're going to export all of our jobs.
Within reason, you can make it work.
We can do it. We are environmentally conscious. And so what I'd like you to know is, I want you to move up there. I want you to have a job. I want you to be able to be a contributing part of all of America.
Sure.
And have a satisfaction of knowing that you're part of forging the new frontier. If we're the end of the road for everyone else, we're the beginning of the road.
I got a good idea for everybody out there. This guy needs to be governor. Instead of North Pole, you ought to be governor. You're great at PR. Along with the fishing trips and coming up to the North Pole, you've got the train rides through Denali National Park. You can also do the ships that go into the Sound.
You have inland passage coming up, that about a 900 stretch of that panhandle we talked about. That's an extension, basically beside Canada, and then it can go up. You can go around the Kenai Peninsula, Kodiak Island, and then on into Cook Inlet to Anchorage. You can go up to the Bristol Bay area, rich habitat for a lot of the world's fisheries originate right there. We provide 70% of the fish products for America.
Wow. Well, he was telling me that what we consider as steak and beef here, it's king crab up there. So count me in.
King crab, king salmon,
halibut.
Halibut. We have it in our refrigerators, and we stock it up like you guys do hamburger. And then the kids are saying, "We have to have that again." Well, so it's a different perspective.
Now the sun, and as far as daylight and everything, you guys have 3 hours of daylight right now?
Right now, with the winter solstice, we're 90 miles south or 120 miles south of the Arctic Circle. And so we're down to about 3 hours of daylight. We have dusk that's a couple hours on either side, so it seems a little bit longer. But that sun doesn't peak over the horizon very, very high at all, maybe 5 degrees.
Yep, down below the equator.
Above the Arctic Circle, it's totally dark right now. So just go up to the Yukon River and beyond to Anaktuvuk Pass, Barrow, Prudhoe Bay, all this area, they're all in darkness right now.
Wow.
100%. But it's not pitch black dark. Our snow is dry, and so the moonlight on the snow just glitters like billions of diamonds. And so you can turn off your lights, and you'll actually have shadows cast by the moon that is as if you were in daylight. So it seems.
That
romantic daylight.
That itself would be worth coming up and taking a look at.
You got to take a look. You can have a snow machine ride up into the White Mountains.
Now, when you say snow machine, you're not talking snowmobile. You're talking an actual machine you get into, and there's half a dozen people in there, like an Arctic cat.
Okay, you can have that, but no, what we call snowmobile is your snow machine.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
It's a different term.
Right.
But it's the same thing. Those skis in the front and the big track in the back.
Right.
What do you call that?
Yeah, snowmobiles. You call them snow machines.
Sure. Yeah, it's the same. So I mean, there's all sorts of winter enthusiastic trips. Now, it can get down to 40 below this time of the year, and enjoyment factor diminishes once it's 20 below and colder.
You think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But right here, it's a dry heat. Well, no,
Well,
Alaska it's a
up
dry
there,
heat,
up there.
dry cold.
Yeah.
Arizona it's a dry heat, I guess.
Yeah.
We have a dry cold.
Okay.
You have a wind that
Right.
blows, and so it was funny.
And
I
a
was
little bit
looking-
more moisture too.
Yeah, I was looking on my smartphone, and it was saying it was 20 degrees in North Pole yesterday. The real feel was like 37, and here in Omaha it was 37. The real feel was like 15.
Yeah.
And so it was funny the reversal.
Yep.
I brought a jacket down here, and I barely wear it because it's it's hot down
Yep,
here.
yep.
Yeah, so.
Well, we're going to put a lot of things on the blog as far as North Pole.
North
You
Pole,
gonna use-
Alaska.
do you have a website?
We do. www.northpolealaska.com, all spelled out. And from there's some links. We've been working on it. One of the things I like about Papillion is you have a communications director, 100% occupied. Hello, between me and the city clerk, Kathy Weber, we do the communications, and it's like, oh, we'd love to have one person that we could just, here, do this. So you can also go to North Pole Economic Development Corporation, or NPEDC.com, and they have links to the Community Chamber of Commerce, which is northpolechamber.us. So we'd like to put all these things.
Sure.
So Christmas in Ice is
Right,
Christmas
right.
in Ice, IN Ice, .com. And so you get a real feel for the city, the community. We're about 2,200 people in the metro area of 30,000 that call themselves or attach themselves to North Pole. And in a greater area of Fairbanks, the Fairbanks North Star Borough, and that's 100,000 people in a 7,400 square mile area, which is the size of the state of New Jersey. Just under the size of the state of Connecticut, 100,000 people. We've talked about unifying all this, and it in some ways makes sense. In another way, you can't have a unified government. That's like a state government in that region, 400,000.
Right.
But there would be some value, but not to North Pole, because we're a magical place. Our theme is where the spirit of Christmas lives year round. And so you're going to find elements of Christmas all year round whenever you come to North Pole, Alaska. And I really invite you to come up and just say, hey, Bill Black sent us.
There you go. And that'll get you a king crab.
No,
if you don't get it there, you call me and I'll make sure you get it. But
we'll make sure it gets you a lapel pen or a pen that you can say, I was there.
I want to thank Doug for showing up and being a friend for life, and just a great encourager and just an incredible guy. So I hope you do run for governor. I think you deserve it. I think Alaska deserves it. If you're planning to move to Alaska, or if you're going to come here from Alaska and move to Omaha because of Offutt Air Force Base, give us a call. We do military relocation. We do all kinds of relocation, be it corporate or military, doesn't matter. But we'd be happy to help you. And you know what? Have a Merry Christmas. Make it a great New Year's. And we look forward to
Well, and Bill, I have to
2012.
say thank you also for your friendship over the years. And Santa wanted me to let you know that because of Colleen, your wife, you're on the good boy.
Yeah.
So God bless you. Merry Christmas.